So you might be in the market to buy yourself a brand new PC, and you have 12 trillion different choices of pre-builts to select from. But the problem is none of them are going to give you everything you want out of a machine. Building your own machine, not only do you have the pride of knowing, yeah, I built that, but you also know, and you also get to select each and every piece that goes into the machine so that you know you're building with quality. So at ThisBytesForYou, I'm going to show you how to build your own high-end PC with high-end components. Starting off with the EVGA Supernova G+ 1000 watt power supply, the Asus ROG Crosshair 8 Hero motherboard, the AMD Ryzen 9 3900X processor, 32 gigs of 4133 MHz RAM, RGB from our friends at Patriot, an EVGA RTX Geforce 3090 Ultra Gaming powerhouse, the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 280 liquid cooling unit, 2 terabytes of super fast M.2 storage from our friends at Sabrent. We're gonna build all of that inside of the Lian Li Dynamic 011 by DeBauer case. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start off with the motherboard. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just turn it around so you can get a better view. We're going to be installing the CPU into this socket. So I'm going to go ahead, you'll notice this little arm. I'm just going to go ahead, pull it out and then raise it. That unlocks the socket so that we can install the CPU. Going to go ahead and turn it around this way so you can get a better view. But you might notice this side is a little bit different from every other side. And on the CPU itself, you'll see a little gold pin right here. Flipping it around, you'll notice that as well right here. That is going to go right on this edge. So I'm just going to go ahead, put it down real quick. Okay, and you'll notice these little pins and these little pinholes. So if you have everything in right, all you do is kind of line them up and the CPU is going to fall in place. You don't need to push down on this. It will fall in place. If you have it pushed down, you might need to just turn it around till you get it right. So again, just falls right into place. Now that the CPU is in place, we're just going to go ahead, drop this arm, and it's going to go ahead and lock the CPU in place. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and install the RAM. So turning the board a little bit around so we can see everything. Okay, all 4 DIMM slots are right over here. Again, we're using 32 gigs of Patriot 4133 MHz RGB RAM. Now, if you only had 1 stick of RAM, you would install it into slot A2. And then here, silk screened on the board, it tells you A2, A1, B2, B1. Now, if you only had 2 sticks of RAM, you would install the RAM into A2 and B2. But again, since we have 4, we're going to go ahead and take up all of the spots. So I'm just going to go ahead, move this around. You'll notice over here, you'll have the unlocking mechanism. You don't have that over here. So the purpose for that is so that you can slide your RAM in here and drop it down. But you notice I installed it wrong. There's a little notch right over here for the RAM, and there's a little notch right over here as well. So installing it this way, you can see the notches don't line up. Turning the RAM around, we can see the RAM lines up perfectly. Now I'm gonna zoom out, and I'm just going to show you that in a different angle so you know how it works. Okay, so again, I just slide it down a little bit on the left side, then slide it down here, and then you just push it down. And then we'll go ahead and repeat the process along with the other DIMMs. All right, so we've just installed 32 gigs of RAM. So now we're going to go ahead and install the Sabrent 2 terabyte PCIe M.2 SSD. Now this has a big old heatsink. No chance it's going to fit there, but that's okay because this motherboard has two M.2 slots. So coming along the bottom of the motherboard, right under this heat shield, which we won't be able to utilize again because it has a big heatsink already on the SSD. Since it is an M.4 that is super fast, we have to use its own heatsink. Okay, and just taking that out. And now let me show you up close how to install an M.2. Okay, now with that heatsink removed, we can go ahead and slide in the M.2, but you have to be careful in this case because since there is a heatsink over the M.2, this little pad is going to get in the way. So we're just going to go ahead and remove that pad. Okay. Now if we'll just go ahead and line it up like this, we notice the screw holding the M.2 in place is going to go right here. So Asus includes this little guy here. It's kind of a riser. So I'll just go ahead and screw this into place. Okay, and now we'll just go ahead and slide in that M.2. You'll notice these two little notches here, they're going to line up with this little notch right down here. So we'll just go ahead, slide that in about a 25-degree angle and just lay that back. So laying that back right up here allows us to push down the heatsink, and so it goes right in place right over here. Now Asus does include their own screw, but it is a little bit shorter. So we're going to go ahead and utilize the screw Sabrent provides. Just drop that right in place. Okay. And that goes ahead and secures the M.2 into place. Now, since I will be testing the Sabrent drive, I'm also going to be installing the WD-SN750 as well. So we're going to go ahead and install it into this M.2. Now this one's a little bit tricky. So we'll just go ahead and take this off. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take this panel off, which opens up the fan right over here. And then we'll take off the second screw right here. Now, because this is a standard size M.2, we can just easily slide it into place like we did before. And then drop it right here. Okay, and now we'll grab the heatsink that Asus provides right over here. We'll go ahead and take off this thermal pad, or take off the paste or the protective layer over the thermal pad. And we'll go ahead and put the heatsink right back into place. Now that screw right over here is going to go ahead and secure the M.2 in its socket or its slot. Okay, now we can put the heatsink back in place. All right, so now we've just installed two M.2s. So now let's go ahead and move on to the liquid cooling. All right, so in order to install the liquid cooling unit, we're going to need to do a little bit of prep work first. So first off, we're going to go ahead and grab this cable, just string it across right over here. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and grab a mounting clip place that right over here. Notice you want to line it up with that screw hole right there. And just prep it a little bit right there. Screw it in a little bit with your fingertips. It's going to make things a lot easier. And then just screw it in. Okay, now we'll grab the other mounting mechanism and just do the same thing. Okay, now before we can put this in the system, remember, take this off. All right, so on the motherboard, you'll notice there's a mounting clip right here and another one right over here. We're going to go ahead and take both of those off. So we'll just undo the screws real quick. And then just take it off. Now don't throw it away. You may need it one day, so keep it in the motherboard box or somewhere you'll remember where it is. All right, now we're going to go ahead and apply some thermal paste on there. Okay, now everybody's going to have their own method for applying thermal paste. The way I do it is simply right in the center, just go ahead and put about a pea size worth. So there is, because this is my second attempt, messed up another piece, but there is enough for 2 applications and that's it. That should be more than enough. Now we're going to go ahead and place this guy right over here. Now, just make sure to slide this out of the way over here. That way you don't get any on the plate itself. And let's see, we're going to install it just like this. Okay, and that's going to go ahead and push that paste down. And I'm gonna go ahead and do 1, maybe 2 like this. A little bit difficult to see, but I'll move the camera in 1 second. Now you're not going to want to screw all of them in tightly at first. Just screw in enough to get some threading in there. So you'll notice there, screwing it in now. Again, not 100%. Now you're going to screw here, over here, over here, and over here. Now these are the AMD screws that Arctic provides. And then we'll do the same right over here. Okay, now on this screw, since we have all of them put in, we're gonna tighten this screw 100%. And now we'll tighten this screw 100%. And then this screw, notice I'm not just doing them like this, I'm doing one here, then one here, and then one here. Okay, perfect. So the Arctic utilizes the back plate that AMD already provides on the motherboards. All we needed to do was remove both of these guys. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and put this inside of the case. Okay, so you might notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4, There's one under here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 screw holes on this motherboard. This is a standard ATX form factor motherboard. So we need to verify inside of the case that we have 9 standoffs and that they're all in the right place. So let's go do that real quick. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. So that we can see that other standoff. Now, I may need to remove this plate as well, but we'll see in a minute. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 standoffs. So if you remember before, we counted 9 standoffs. So a few ways you could find out is grab your motherboard and just hold it here. Probably something you should do before you put liquid cooling, but anyway, and match up all the standoffs. Now, because I've built a ton on this, I know that this is going to be the standoff that I need to remove. So you could just grab a pair of needle nose pliers, or if you have the tool to easily do it, which I don't know where it is right now, but just go ahead, unscrew it a little bit, and then you can easily take it off with your fingertips. All right, so that's gone. Just remember, leaving any extra standoff, like right there or right here or right here, has the potential to ground out your motherboard, short it, and your motherboard's dead. So make sure to count all the standoffs before you insert your motherboard. Okay, so the easiest way to build is with the case laying down, but it's hard to record that way, so I'm going to be doing it standing up. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just situate the liquid cooling unit right over here. And then we'll just put the motherboard right here just for right now. Now, normally I would have told you to install the IO shield, but this motherboard already has the IO shield built in, which is kind of nice and saves a bit of headache. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and put the motherboard in its place. Actually, I prefer building with the case standing up, but I know a lot of people freak out on that. Okay, so I set the first one just to hold the board in place. And then the one right across, right over here. And now just screw them all in. Yeah, for this one, we're going to need to remove that heatsink just for a second. Which will give us access to that screw. And now just put everything back. All right, now we can put the cover back in place. And then we'll finish off with the motherboard screws. And now we'll go ahead and put the liquid cooling unit back in place. Now you could set it up for push-pull or however you want to do it. But for right now, the basics, we have warm air rising coming through here, leaving through the top of the radiator. And let me bring you across the top. All right, so coming along the front of the case, we have some options here, but what I'm going to go ahead and do, since this is a 280 slide it to the very front, then grab a washer, line it up over here with one of the screw holes. Drop in one there. Now this could be challenging even if you had it laying down flat. All right, so we have one screwed in. Now I'm keeping my hand on it until I screw in, for example, this one back here, and then I'll just go ahead and fill in the rest. All right, now that we've installed the liquid cooling unit up here at the top, we're gonna come down to install the SSD and the EVGA Geforce RTX 3090 Ultra Gaming card. The Lian Li 011 Dynamic by DeBauer gives us a ton of space in the back for SSDs to be completely hidden or up at the front. So I'm gonna go ahead and install it up at the front. So I'm just going to remove this tray. Then I'm going to grab an SSD. I'm going to go ahead and slide it into these little holes right over here and just screw one in by hand. And now I'll go ahead and screw the other four off real quick. Okay, now with those screws in place, we'll just go ahead and slide this drive back in there and screw the thumb screw right in place. Now we're going to go ahead and install the video card. So the card is going to go in this PCIe slot, which is going to utilize these two slots right over here. So we'll just unscrew those two. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and grab the EVGA Geforce RTX 3090 Gaming Ultra, and we're gonna slide it in here. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you up a little bit so that way you can get a better view of the PCIe slot. Okay, so now we're going to grab the card and slide it into the PCIe slot. Now, you may not notice it right now, but I'll show you in 1 second. And just push that in. Now, in doing that, the little PCIe locking mechanism popped up. Let me zoom in. Now again, this little mechanism popped up. So now I'm going to go ahead. Holding the card in place, push it in, and that releases the video card. In case you ever need to take it out. So again, I'm just gonna go ahead and push it back in. And you'll notice that pop up a little bit. Okay, that goes ahead and locks the card in place. All we need to do is go ahead and screw these two back in place. So in this video, I've shown you how to build a computer from the ground up. Hardware-wise though, I've shown you how to install a motherboard, CPU, liquid cooling unit, RAM, two M.2 SSDs, as well as a regular SSD, then a video card, into the Lian Li Dynamic 011 by DeBauer case. Awesome case, gives us all the room to install everything we want. Now, in this next video coming up, I'm gonna show you how to install the power supply, every single cable that comes with the power supply, then also the SATA cables for that regular SSD. Stay tuned, a lot more coming up. Iggy out. See you guys.